All right, that should do it. Hey, there we go. Okay. What's going on? Only truths? Only fans? Only truths? Alright. Here we go. Anton, how's it going? Brian, hello. Soonjin, I know you have something to share today. Bandit, how's it going? Research Divergent on YouTube. Isn't that like the movie? Divergent? Divergent. Pretty sure I've heard of that. Let me open up the chat for myself, though. How's it going, folks? How is it going? There we go. Alright, we got 8 people. Not bad. Not bad. Not too bad. Okay, yeah. So today, I mean, I was gonna stream yesterday or last night, actually. But I was exhausted, as I said on that post. So I moved it to today. And not that I'm not exhausted today, but wanted to make sure I held up on my promise. I did want to go over this thread, though, because it'll talk a lot about, you know, Ryu's eye. And there's some other possibilities, and even though this was pretty detailed for a thread, it didn't actually have everything I wanted to include, because I wanted to talk about it with you guys. Before we do, I'm curious, what's the Divergent channel? I feel like someone, maybe you, were saying this last week, maybe? Or last stream, to look at Divergent? But we'll take a look. Divergent. Oh, missed the end. I missed the end. This one? Something about TikTok looks creepy, though. Looks pretty creepy. What are we all about? What are we all about? Ah, okay. Oh, yeah, so this had to have been you when we were talking about... Was I talking to you guys about The Matrix last week? Or was that just WK? Oh, that wasn't you. Okay. I feel like someone else has told me to go to this channel. Oh, okay. Seems like a conspiracy, gloom and doom type of thing. Let's see. This changes everything you've been indoctrinated with. I always love this thing. Like, I started doing it back when I was trying to, like, gain traction for YouTube. Like, actually, back when I, like, cared way more than I should have. These arrows, like, any thumbnail that you do, and Black Clover, you know, content creators do this. A lot of just anime content creators in general do this, where they just put, like, a random red arrow at, like, something that might look important or something so subtle that they try to lead you to believe it means something, but it's actually just a random arrow. Has nothing to do with anything they're talking about in the video. Gets people every time. Gets people every time. I'm Superman in Matrix City. Oh, dude. I want to get this game. It seems fun. But it's funny because I'm realizing I'm now at an age where people don't, like, all this stuff that I enjoyed is now like old, I guess. Like I was just watching some YouTuber just randomly popped up in the background, and he was experiencing this game called Prototype for the first time ever. I'm like, bro, I really can't be that old. I can't. Because Prototype is literally what everyone has been asking for, right? It's like this free roaming game where you have like cool superpowers, and Prototype is exactly that. Like, so I guess I've been out of touch. Interesting. Secret of the world government forbidden to our humanity. It seems kind of like a random channel too. Like they made him look so funny. Epic laugh. Just a 15-second video. Back to conspiracies. Back to gaming. Back to laughs. Interesting. This person's just kind of everywhere, but looks mostly like a conspiracy thing. Kind of like a woke channel is what it looks like. This teacher's too sexy. What's this guy wearing? He's wearing a sailor suit. Is that just his gimmick? That looks interesting. Okay. Huh. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, this guy's channel is random as all hell. No specific, like, we're talking about Naruto now? Okay. And yeah, he just wears his, I guess maybe he's a sailor? How to keep me alive on YouTube. Okay. How do I keep me alive on YouTube? That's what I want to know. Okay. Alright. I'll give it a look later. Alright, people. Let's see what we've got going on today. Dr. Frost, how's it going? Oh yeah, you hardly ever catch these streams, so welcome. Okay, so today, I guess we're just gonna start with talking about Ryu's Eye. I think there's a very strong possibility that it's a combination of two things that we find in Bleach. And I don't think I have to really tell you guys how much about it has taken off of Bleach and stuff like that. So the stone in Bleach, there were two. They were the Hogyoku, right? So these are reality warping. What is it? Not warping, but I think they said reality bending type of jewel. So what happens is Kisuke Urahara, like the main, not the main, but he's like that mysterious good guy. And then you have Aizen, who is one of the final villains. Well, I guess the final villain of the main story, I would say. Both made stones that could warp reality and shape it in the way that the user wants it to look. And ultimately, the Hogyoku ends up having a will of its own. And so all of these anomalous characters like Ichigo himself, not only being a wizard, but also part Quincy and all that stuff, was made by the stone, and it was completely purposeful. It wasn't just a happenstance. He wasn't just some random anomaly. What's going on, Bruce? So I was coming around to thinking, like, if this stone exists in Black Clover, then it could explain people like Hino or even Asta, especially Asta, where he doesn't have magic. This is completely abnormal. Like, no matter how you slice it, no one should really be getting born without magic. In a world filled with magic, and there's an underworld filled with its own source of magic as well. So, and then we have Hino, who have magic. They just call it Yoryoku. And Asta still doesn't have even that. So there's something completely off with this kid, but this goes back to the concepts that we talked about very early in the channel called the Kenoma and the Pleroma. So the Kenoma is something that's empty, right? So it's a vessel. Now, they usually ascribe these things to actual, like, people. So the Kenoma is void of light or the grace of God. In Black Clover, we can say this person would be void of mana. And then you have the Pleroma. Now, the Kenoma can become the Pleroma. And the reason this can happen is because they're empty. So it's like having a glass that is completely full. You cannot add more things to that glass because the glass is already full of what it needs. But then you have an empty glass, and you can pour in. So, like, let's say compared to like Hino, who's, let's give him like, I don't know, what's some good water? Smart water. He's a big tall glass of smart water, right? There's nothing more we can really add to Hino's cup. However, Asta, completely empty. Now we're gonna give him that Fiji water, right? That good water, and he's able to take in more of this grace in all of it because he is empty. So it has to be on purpose. And now, in those older videos, we talk about how aeons, or the real angels, and we're not talking about Michael, Gabriel, and those people. Those are more or less, in the Gnostic point of view, fake angels, or just drones of the Creator God. So the aeons actually are able to reach out into the physical realm, and this is what even like Jesus was, right? And we've conflated Asta to Jesus on this channel. Broku's done it on his. There's a lot going into that, and we'll actually talk about something from the Black Clover one shot that even leans into this. This idea of Asta being this Christ-like figure, not saying that he is exactly Jesus. However, he's got a lot of likeness to that. So anyway, the aeons, the real angels, are able to reach out into the physical world by the permission of the real, invisible, and unknowable God, the Bythos. So Jesus is born essentially, I wouldn't even say empty, and they don't describe him as empty. So it's a weird concept to grasp. Whatever happened with Jesus, there was one part of him that was empty, that was able to be filled by the Aeon Sophia, which was the mother of essentially this universe, but by accident. And Jesus had both his own soul and then the spirit of Sophia within him to grant him these abnormal and supernatural powers, right? So this is the Gnostic point of view and how they explain that. So Asta having no mana, again, really sets him up to be able to be filled with something much greater than just regular mana in the endgame scenario. But anyway, let me read this to you guys, and we'll go off on the tangents when need be. But I'm sure most of you guys have already read this, so we'll just be getting a refresher. So the first possibility is that Ryu's eyes are wish-granting or reality-warping jewel or stone that would also more than likely connect to the magic stones, as we get a direct statement from Zagreus on Hino's magic stone, having the ability to draw the user's desire from the underworld. So that was one of those things that Tabata puts in. It was a one-off instance that we never really got back around to. But we see that, like, Yami had introduced, what was it called? Ultimate Magic to the series back before they even entered the dungeon, right? And that was never mentioned again. But here we are, and we have Ultimate Magic, right? So this is going to be one of those things I feel like that we're going to circle back around to, where, of course, the Hogyoku from Bleach is said to draw upon the desires of the user and shape reality around that. So it seems a lot like that. And of course, we can make the parallels, and we have, to the Bailet from Berserk. However, I'm doubting more and more that we'll see that type of thing. I really kind of hope we do, but it actually isn't really that necessary at this point in the story. But we'll see. So, but you've all seen my tweets and videos on it, so I won't be going into a lot of depth about it. So here's just a brief description of the Hogyoku. So it's the true ability of the Hogyoku is to absorb the desires of those around it and to manifest them into reality. All of the events that have occurred around Ichigo Kurosaki, Rukia, and Kisuke, events that could scarcely be called anything but miraculous. Every one of these miracles was brought out by the will of the Hogyoku. Right? So we have moments, like when time stopped before Asta was gonna get completely done in by Mars, right? Now they do show Yuno's grimoire, almost in a similar fashion, almost exact fashion, in the beginning of the series, where it shows Yuno's magic stone as Asta starts to get his resolve back and grants him the grimoire, the five leaf, of course. So it's a little bit odd in that sense. Now, the Hogyoku, again, there are two of them in Bleach, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's more than just this, if this is exactly what Ryu's eye is, and Yuno could have something that corresponds to this eye as well. And so I think we talked about before how the pattern on Yuno's magic stone are intersections, right? And that particular thing is the intersection of dimensions. So to bridge this gap of reality and their reality and a different dimension is pretty big, and it could serve to say that Yuno has that, and something that had ended up granting him that second spirit. We're not sure if he was born with it. I mean, it wouldn't be completely out of the question that he was born with it, but the pendant seems to be a pretty big deal, and also has attachments to that soul within him. So just a little something to think about. But anyway, should it hold these qualities, then this is something that Lucius needs in order to complete his plan, and shaping reality is the most efficient way to finalize the scale of his plan. And we actually talked about this in the months building up to in the hiatus, right? We had talked about Lucius's final master plan, and part of it was shaping reality in the way that he sees it. Now, the way that I frame it is not due to a stone. It's actually due to having the access to the powers of Beelzebub, Lucifero, and Astaroth. With space, time, and gravity, you would ultimately be able to warp reality the way you want it, and be able to fight things like fate without much hindrance. So, putting it with this stone, I do like, because it gives Lucius a bit less power. However, I don't think not having those demonic attributes would I don't think it could be ruled out of the story, because things would be really easy if he got that stone. It would make things it would be one and done for Lucius. And even though he's not, I'm willing to bet he's not even in his second day yet. With all the stuff happening and Hino and Asta being there, I'm very sure it acts like the Don guy from Bleach, where time is just completely condensed. And they actually talk about this in the Samsara too, where the realm of like devas are very, very condensed. So even though they live for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, it's actually even more than that from our perspective. So to us, they look like eternal beings, but they actually just live at a much slower and condensed time rate. Really interesting stuff that it's built into their lore. Anyway, in Bleach, the Hogyoku was the item used to bridge the gap between a hollow, which is their version of a demon, and a Shinigami, thus giving us the Vizard. So a Vizard in this series would essentially be a devil host. And we see that certain people, the Zogratis family, Asta, the Foss, Noct in particular, and even probably Yami, have these very special relationships with devils. And we're not completely sure why, of course. However, we should assume that there's something within them where the gap has been bridged so that their souls can better connect to these devils. Lucius mentions that those who use the power of devils become higher life forms, meaning him incarnating the spirit of a devil into a human is him breaking this boundary between man and devil. This also implies that all of these specific events and oddities of our main character, Asta, or other pivotal characters, getting through situations they really shouldn't have made it out of could be partly or wholly due to this stone. Like I said, I won't go too far into it, so you can check out the other choosing videos, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so, you know, getting 2 stones, the stone itself. What is this? Oh, Lucida finding Libe. And the events happening to that. These are very specific events that if they did not go down, we would not have this story. Most namely, Lucida meeting Libe, and then Asta getting his 5 leaf. If Lucida never met Libe, Asta never would have got this 5 leaf grimoire. Right? And then Lucida even finding that, just going on a stroll and then finding this grimoire. Another thing that if she never found that, Asta would be shit out of luck. Okay. So, but should the Paladins recover this eye and bring it back to Lucius, then this could mean they would have next to a 0% chance of success in defeating him with the power to shape reality around him. Now on to the second thing. So, the second option for me is that the stone could reflect another stone in Bleach known as the Seki Seki. Now, this is a stone that's used to reduce the spirit. That's literally what it translates to. And they use the stone specifically in efforts of soul warding. Now, I find this wording very cool because we do have curse warding, and of course souls are becoming more and more prevalent, and we are all waiting on Megicula's arrival, who is manipulating souls to her advantage, right? So to have this stone and have it directly contribute to soul warding is pretty cool to me. So the soul warding prevented souls from both leaving and entering the space it was being used in. Excuse me. In my recent videos, I talked about how the Torii gates, or the gates shown to be in Hino, could have served this purpose, but it's not impossible that this is what the eye does, since we know that the state of the land was turbulent before Ryu became the shogun. Given the legend of it's not Engoshima. I was thinking of I was getting it mixed up with this series that you guys should read if you're into like more of the horror-based series. It's called Ingoshima. Or is it Ingoshima? Yeah, it is. Kind of cool. It's about vampires and stuff. Anyway, given the legend of Enoshima that Ichika gives us, not only does this dragon have a wish-granting jewel in its possession, but Benzaiten also manages to get it from him. Now, we're going to read over some stuff in just a little bit, where it's not just the dragon that has a wish-granting jewel. It's actually also Benzaiten and other entities that have them. So it's really interesting that it's framed like this, because in one of the legends, Benzaiten gets this jewel from the dragon, because the dragon willingly gives it to her in an act to like profess its love or something like that. But then that would give her 2, and Benzaiten was just completely taking advantage of this dragon that had ended up submitting to her, without being forced to do so. But all of these stones remind me of the tale of Lucifer when he falls. The first and original Philosopher's Stone was a gem that fell from his crown. And there's a whole video talking about that too, and it's actually kind of crazy because I don't know how many people have been to Mecca or are from Mecca or around and practice that faith, but like the Kaaba stone was said to be that particular stone, and it's kind of crazy that, like, given that story, in taking that perspective in, they're bowing down to the stone that fell from the biggest antagonist's crown. It's kind of interesting, right? Anyway, this eye could be preventing anomalies from entering the land, but the kicker here is that Asta has no magic, and the nature of the Paladin's magic is sacred. So now, the Seki Seki was known to block out what is known as rare yoku, which is spiritual power, which is also a very familiar word. I'm obviously hinting at rare yoku being similar to your yoku. So now taking this, we could draw a conclusion saying that Ryu's eye blocks your yoku, which everything but Asta has, and since there are Torii gates, or at least that one on the land, it is literally marked as a sacred space. But given the fact that paladins have introduced sacred magic to the series, then it makes sense as to why Lily was even able to find it at all. But Asta not having Yoryoku allowed him to slip through that crack. But if we combine the two options, the stone would have been the reason why Asta landed there at all, and has nothing to do, I would say little to nothing to do with Beelzebub or sacred magic in total. I'm not saying that they have absolutely nothing to do with it, I could have worded that better, but I would say it's more so it was the will of that stone, and the stone made Asta so that when these events happened, he was able to slip through and become that exception, and find Hino itself and become closer to that stone. Because I think that stone will ultimately belong to Asta. Anyway, just like the Hogyoki responds to the user's desires, Ryu's stone could have a will of its own, and its plan involves Asta. This works almost as a failsafe, or it manipulated events specifically enough to make sure that this kid was born with no magic, so when the day came that he finally encountered the incarnation of Beelzebub, he would wind up there where Asta could potentially take possession of the stone and embed it within his sword. This would give us a new concept where Asta has not only been battling fate, but he's been carving his own path through it. With this stone's potential, or the potential that I'm giving it, he could dictate reality and loses nothing because he has nothing the stone wants, which is magic. This also restores Ryu to his actual power. From a literary standpoint, we see that Yami may have taken a liking to Asta because he reminds him of Ryu and his outlook on the ideal world without discrimination. Yami gives Asta his katana, giving him more power to push his agenda, so I feel it will be an added memento or tool entrusted to Asta to set the record straight once and for all. But I think the Hogyoki-like powers could be likely, which could make the readers call back to this infamous panel that no one liked, which I don't really mind. I do like it. It's literally the definition of magic. But anyway, where Noel says we'll just overrule reality. After all, that's what magic does, right? So now this is the big twist here is, can magic really overrule reality, or can reality overrule magic? And I think Asta is probably the personification of this this concept where he's got no magic, but he's been overruling the reality of him not being able to make it in a world that's driven by magic completely, right? So if Lucius does incorporate this reality bending type of endgame here, then we're going to see how much magic can really do. And again, I do think it will come down to Asta and this stone if it exists, right? So that's where I wanted to start. Now there are other I had to take a love language test for my one of my classes, my communications class. These are my love languages, just in case anyone cared. Yeah, words of affirmation, love them, love hearing that stuff. It's great. Quality time, love it. Physical touch, love it. Acts of service, I really don't get acts of service, you guys. Like, is anyone really like, man, that person's my friend because they did my chores that one time? Or like, I don't know, like people running errands for you, that's cool, but I'd be like, no one asked you to do that, bro. Like you didn't even get the deodorant that I liked. What are you doing? Receiving gifts is whatever. The only time I value a gift is when it's like from a kid. Honestly, that's it. Everyone else's gifts suck, so that's just what it is. But I love giving them, so. But yeah, I don't know why I had to. I just saw it. I just decided to talk about it. Anyway, there were other jewels here though, and these are tied jewels, and we'll talk about them. But I don't know if you guys have commented anything. You guys just seem like you're listening. I don't know if it was that post, but I think Sunjin said they wanted to share something because they felt like the uh, the eye could be connected to Beelzebub. I think that's what they were at least hinting at. Um, yeah. Go back. Now, I've definitely heard of the theories where people think that eye is Osteroth's eye. Wouldn't be completely mad at that. I do think it would be kind of wasted potential. I think. I mean, I say that, and I've definitely said some things like that for other instances in the series, but Tabata, writes it in such a way that um, I really don't mind the route he takes it. So yeah. Anyway. Foster eating KFC. I don't remember the last time I had KFC, dude. Okay. So this is the post where I lied. All right. So we could talk about this. I put this there for a reason. This is called the Makari fish. So this is an ancient thing. Let's see where I put it. Makara, excuse me. So, the Makara is a legendary sea creature in Hindu mythology. Makara is equivalent to the zodiac sign Capricorn. Now, that's pretty big right now because I did just make a thread a few days ago talking about the picture of Adremelech with the what's it called? With a goat on his head, right? Sort of sitting on his shoulders. And the goat is, of course, related to Capricorn, right? So, okay. Let's... Give me 1 second. Okay. So... I'm just trying to sorry. Sunjin sent me his thoughts on this, and I just want to get it out of my messages. Oh, it was sent twice. Okay, so that's all it is. Okay, let's give this a bit of a gander here, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Okay, so Sunjin is in the chat now. So this is their theory. And I'm sure they'd appreciate your guys' thoughts on this, if you guys have any. So he says, I'm saying he, I'm not sure if you're he or not, I'm just assuming. What if the soul Lucius incarnated into Lily wasn't Beelzebub, but it was Xenon who sold his soul to Beelzebub and became a devil, and Beelzebub uses Xenon's soul while hiding his one soul? If I'm not mistaken, Beelzebub in mythology can control souls. So he uses Xenon's soul and swaps the body with him, while Beelzebub's soul is in Xenon's body. Xenon's soul is in Beelzebub's body, and since Beelzebub is in possession of Xenon's soul, he was able to give Xenon his personality. So Xenon can act as if he was Beelzebub. And after Lucius incarnated the soul into Lily's body, the reason Lily was able to use spatial magic is because Xenon's contract with Beelzebub was still valid. He didn't lose it, unlike Dante. Let's not forget that Adremelech is one of the most dangerous devils who would rather die than work for a human. So maybe the reason he's working for or with Lucius is because Beelzebub told him to do so after all Adremelech is part of the Order of the Fly. Okay. So I will try and break this down and see what's up here. So you're saying that in your case, there's a possibility that we were taken for a ride and that he did not incarnate Beelzebub into Lily, but instead incarnated Xenon into Lily. And Beelzebub is still out there in Xenon's body, right? Hopefully I'm getting that or understanding that correctly. That is the case. I don't see that being likely, right? Because Lucius has no real reason to lie. Because who did he say that to, right? The whole Beelzebub thing. He said it to Noelle, Mimosa, and Sekre. There's no real motive to lie about it. Now, maybe we could shift this in its wording and say that he's mistaken for it, but I think the rest of your theory more relies on it being a very intentional thing that he's doing. And then I don't fully remember when he's talking to Asta initially, like before the main part of the fight, as he's introducing himself, or by the end of it, he's saying that I think he said he was going to revive his siblings, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't think they're even out there right now, but I could be wrong on that. Now, as far as Beelzebub controlling the soul, in demonology, he doesn't control any souls. So he's in contact with a person's shadow self, and he's more so the one that awakens the mage's third eye, right? So the third eye opens with Aishet Zenonim and Lucifuge Focal, and then they ascend to Beelzebub, where he finally, they awaken that eye. It's not just open, but it's awakened. So he introduces them to their true individual self, their true self, which is a huge topic in and of itself, but the more in tune someone is with their individualism, the more enlightened essentially they are, and the more apt they are to be able to use the whatever magic they're trying to attain by going through the left-hand path. So he doesn't really control them, but he is definitely in contact with the souls of hell. So he uses Xenon's soul and swaps bodies with him. While Beelzebub's soul is in Xenon's body. Okay, we talked about that. Xenon's soul is in Beelzebub's. Wait. Beelzebub's soul is in Xenon's. Xenon's soul is... Okay, so you're saying now Xenon is literally Beelzebub, like the huge giant demon. Okay. And since Beelzebub is in possession of Xenon's soul, he was able to give Xenon his personality, so Xenon can act as if he was. So you're just saying they did like a whole trade then, right? Which isn't an outrageous thought, because the idea of bargaining the soul with a devil, and in most legends and mythology, is that the devil is going to break free from their shackles of hell, right? And that really comes down to them becoming human, and they need a soul and vessel to do so. So I guess I'm not really mad at that. But I guess it would just be better to like kind of backtrack and explain like what you think might be happening with the fact that we saw the trade of the soul, right? And Xenon was going through his own memories when he became a devil, right? So he's very clearly himself, but you could argue that he was losing sight of himself for sure. He was becoming much more violent and much more hateful, but I do attribute that to more so jealousy towards Hino, because Hino is literally what he could have been if he was in the right environment, but he wasn't. So this is an interesting thought. So then after Lucius incarnated the soul into Lily's body, the reason Lily was able to use spatial magic is because Xenon's contract with Beelzebub was still valid. So this part, I just don't see how it fits, right? Um, you know, you really have to like be sold, right, on the fact that Lucius intentionally gave us wrong information about him incarnating the soul of Beelzebub. Unless, okay, I don't know if this is what you're trying to say here, but, and maybe I'm just slow, and that could very well be the case. But possibly what's being said here, or if not, we can add to this, is that the only reason why he's able to incarnate Beelzebub's soul at all, and we haven't seen another incarnation of a devil yet, is because of the contract. Okay, I think that's what you're saying, and I just missed it. Okay. So, okay. Because the way I read this was that Xenon's soul was incarnated into Lily. Isn't that what you said? Now I'm just confusing myself. I'm not going to go back up. But okay, let's say it works like that. And I think that's valid. That's a very valid thing. And those contracts could have been made so that he can incarnate those specific devils, which are the only devils that really matter in the end, right? Aside from Liebe. So I guess that would make sense. That I can see that being the case. Okay. Because it was still valid. He didn't lose it, unlike Dante. I don't think Dante ever lost his did he lose it? No, he didn't. I don't think he lost his contract at all. But I mean, I guess it would suit what was just said, right? Like what you're getting at. And could be the reason why he had to eat Lucifero's core instead of just using that magic, right? Or incarnating. Yeah, because, if you're looking at it, I guess, he could have just incarnated Lucifero's soul into himself, right? So having to eat that core, maybe that does imply that Dante lost his power. Okay. And then this last part, I'm not quite sure what you're trying to push home, but like absolutely, Adremelech is part of the Order of the Fly, and it's that whole partnership is going to crumble. Like, I'm viewing this as Lucius as Eisen, where Adremelech is probably going to be someone like Gin, who ends up betraying Eisen, or attempting to at least, but ultimately failing. However, in this case, our Black Clover Gin or Adremelech would be working for a much higher deity, which is Beelzebub, and ultimately Lucifer, who I will still stand on is Liebe. But interesting thought. I haven't thought about like that, the last part of this, where we're talking about how the reason he's able to incarnate Beelzebub into a body at all is because of Xenon's contract. So that's interesting. So then, would we say that Vonica lost her contract? Or would you guys still say it's active? Because what bugs me is that we never got a firm confirmation of anybody's death except for Xenon. And the contract was it still has to be active, right? Because there's still a present danger, a technical danger to the world, which is Lucius, and the world involves, of course, the Spade Kingdom. So to honor that contract, it would still have to be active. So that makes sense. The Dante thing, absolutely. I think we can definitely more so confirm his potential death more than we can for Vonica. So yeah, I guess that makes sense. That does make sense. Yeah, I like that. Nice. Very nice. But yeah, the Vonica thing does bug me, right? Because we never got solid confirmation. And it was actually blatantly stated that she was still alive, actually, right? By Megicula, where she's saying, what's it called? During her femcantation, or malevolent femcantation, she was just saying that she was 1/3 manifest, and that was due to Asier's death, right? And she was saying all she has to do is kill Vonica and Lolopechka, and she can be fully manifested. Which is, she's so dumb for this, because she should have just did that off the bat, but she chose not to because devils are stupid, and that's fine. But anyway, she said literally that she was still alive, so I guess he should in this case be able to incarnate Megicula as well. So I guess just to add to that thought, what are you guys saying in there? What did you guys think of that that theory? Foss, what did the sea god Noel or look like? He looked like Poseidon. Me and Broku did a video on that, and the connections that has to the underworld, most specifically Zagrid and Megicula. Yeah, but I mean, is also equated to Lucifer, not Lucifer, but Lucifer type entity, because Lucifer is in multiple legends and lore, having ruled Atlantis. Dr. Frost, what if the double heart bargain made Xenon Beelzebub by him giving Xenon his heart, so Xenon became Beelzebub in the world, like he became Beelzebub's body, so that we see Beelzebub, he'll look like him. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. It did seem like he was losing himself towards the end of the battle, but I do sort of doubt it, though, right? Because that'd be a waste of a really big devil, I think. Yeah, it's tough to say, you guys. It is really tough. Like, I can't say, like, anyone would be wrong, you know, in that case. Because we just straight up don't know enough about, like, you know, souls in general, and the real agenda to a devil like Beelzebub getting a soul. We just have the lore, and from the lore, it seems that Xenon became his true self and lost his duality, which is that state of the true self. So, yeah, I guess it could go either way, though. Sunjin, you're saying Dante lost his contract while fighting Magna? That's the thing, he didn't, though. Let's see if we can look at the picture. So we do remember that the mark disappears, right? Once he gets initially knocked... No, it didn't even disappear, did it? Because he's lying there on the floor, knocked out cold. I do believe it's still there, though. And it might have disappeared. I feel like there was a whole discrepancy about that. So it might have disappeared. But, let's see. This is the one I'm thinking of here. Can we even see his face? Oh boy, that's a shitty TikTok thing. Here we go. So let's take a little zoom. So I guess, yeah, it doesn't look like it's there, right there. But when he does come back, right before Jack has to deal with him. Oh, here we go. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's on his forehead. Oh, it is. It's right there. So he never lost that. That is his to keep. So then, yeah, and he definitely had it when he lost control of his power. But then again, because Jack literally says that his body couldn't control the magic, and it was really the magic of Lucifero, right? That was helping him contain all of that. Am I tripping? Let's see. Dante versus Jack. I just want to see that the last panel that we see Dante in. Why are we getting shown this Dante? Dante versus Samurai Jack? That's a thing? What are we doing, you guys? Dante versus Jack Skellington? Bro. About to call it a night with all this stuff. We're gonna too much internet for the day. Too much internet. Bro, let's get specific here. Black Clover. Good Christ. Oh, okay. Where did we go? I am not seeing the panel I need to see. But what was that, around like 295? I guess we can look it up on TCB and see if we can find that. Was TCB even around back then? For 295? I just want to get to the bottom of this. Because I don't think he lost his contract, but I've definitely missed plenty of details in my time here, so. TCB scans. Black Clover. We're talking 295-ish. Okay, or not. 295, 295. You're saying 298? Okay. Well, let's see where this lands us real quick. Oh, it's the crew. It's the crew. Okay. Oh, we're like balls deep in the... kind of. Okay, so I'll look at 298. No, because 303 is when Megicula gets defeated. So it has to be before this. So 292 sounds like it could be what we're looking for. This is not 292. It's still 295. 292. There we go. Okay, so this is Zora and Magna. Okay, so this is definitely around that. And this, I still love this panel of Zora and all of his Madman designs and all that stuff. You got the pentagram up there. We talked about this specific symbol way before they showed these two right here. So I was really stoked when this came out. Oh, it's right here. Yeah. Super cool. Yeah, it was a very awesome way to incorporate this backstory and the training arc for them. I like this a lot. Anyway, now we're looking forward. Oh wait, so maybe it is 298? Was it like a little crossover? Because this is really early into the battle, I feel like. 294. Okay, here we go. Yep, you won. And, yep, Mark is still there. Then we see the mark on Morris. Okay, here, it's still there. And then Jack says, the speed of your magic recovery is no joke either. You can't control that body magic that you're so proud of, though. It's running wild. Oh, so he never really says anything like what I was thinking he said. But it starts running wild. So, I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't say... Because then again, like, he'd be using, like, Presence of the Demon King, right? But, you know, it says right there, too. His magic was running wild, so that means he's lost control of it. So, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. But just given the fact that this mark is there, I would say that he never lost that contract. But it's tough to say. We don't know a whole lot about anything. So, okay. All right. Interesting. Anyway, okay. Foss, you're saying no, not the statue, the creature in the filler. Oh, that was like a. Uh, dang. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I couldn't give you an exact thing, but if you're saying like it's the Makara, it's possible. That it could have been, maybe. But anyway, I was talking about the Capricorn thing being equated to a Dramalek because of that goat sitting on his shoulders. And then we have that pufferfish that everyone starts theorizing that this pufferfish. I think I saw someone say that it was a Dramalek back in the day, which I don't agree with at all. But the fact of the matter is that pufferfish does have some very similar designs as a Dramalek does. So this being a sea creature, being related to Capricorn, that we are perceiving a Dramalek to be a part of, starts to fit kind of hand in hand. Then you talk about Capricorn itself. It's the gateway of death, or the gateway to heaven, and then in the inverse, it's the gateway of hell, of course. So Dramalek is the one who does all of that in demonology. So I just thought it was really cool that it led me to this. Maybe we can get around back to this later. I don't think it's super relevant, and it might not actually hit on exactly what a Dramalek is. I just thought it was something interesting. But to go back to the eye. So we have the tide jewels. So here it says in Japanese mythos, the two tide jewels named Kanju, which are the tide ebbing jewels, and Manju, the tide flowing jewel, were magical gems that the sea god used to control the tides. Now there is a sea dragon that Japanese lore talks about a lot, which has made me think that a battle between Ryu, let's say he does have powers over water, and he is this sea, god or deity. Imagine Lily, right? A really good water mage as it was before she hit the paladin status, now has sacred magic on top of this, and we have to assume that she's got a dual attribute, right? So using her amped up paladin water magic against a guy who might not only just have powers that manipulate water, but also has one of these jewels of tide ebbing and tide flowing, being able to control probably more water or an equal amount of water that Lily can use at her current state would be kind of epic. And then we look at these jewels. Now, I'm not going to read the legend per se, because it really has nothing to do with the story. However, remember that Yami does state that he was shipwrecked, which means he was met with turbulent seas. So the tide ebbing jewel would also be, or not just ebbing, but tide ebbing and flowing, could be a very valid thing that Ryu has. But anyway, the earliest pseudo-historical texts record an ancient myth that the sea deity, Watatsumi, presented the tide jewels to his son-in-law, Hori, aka Yamasa Chihiko, which is the Prince Luck of the Mountain. Oh, we have a character named Luck. The third and youngest son of Ninigi, no Mikoto, and the Blossom Princess. Oh, what? Yo, we gotta go back to that. Because, okay, this is just how my brain works, right? When I read into this stuff, it says here that Hori is a figure in Japanese mythology. Now, this is the one that they just called Prince Luck of the Mountain. So the third and youngest son of Ninigi no Mikoto and the Blossom Princess, right? And so the Blossom Princess, in my head right now, I can equate to Charlotte very loosely, right? And then we know that the elves Charla and I forgot Luck's Lyra. Was it Lyra? Something like that. Those elves were actually related. Like, that was her little brother. So that's really interesting. Maybe we can go back to that. Anyway, it says later Japanese writings referred to the tide jewels as being in possession of the dragon god Ryujin, which is just Dragon King, or being housed in his dragon palace, Ryugu, where the myth of the loan of these jewels became attached to pseudo-historical conquests of Korea by Empress Jingu. Helix, how's it going, bud? Okay. So, we'll get into terminology, I guess that is important. So the Japanese compounds Kanju, which is the ebbing jewel, and Manju, the flow jewel, combine this character of Kan, which is dry up and drain off, and then ebb with recede, oppose, and man, which is fill, full, rise, fulfill, satisfy, all that stuff. Yeah, we kind of get that. I guess we don't need that part. What else do we have? Okay, we're talking about a lost. This is the part of the legend that really isn't relevant to the actual story, but maybe we can look at the Ryugo Jo. Okay, so this is the Dragon Palace Castle. It's the supernatural undersea palace of Ryujin, or Dragon God, in Japanese tradition. It's best known as the place in fairy tale where Urashima Taro was invited after saving a turtle, where he was entertained by the Dragon God's princess Otohime and his minions. But when Urashima returned back to land after what he thought was a few days away, centuries had passed. See, you just talked about that, right? So he was clearly in the Deva realm. Obviously, if he's dealing with a god of any type, he would have to be. So this is what we were just talking about, right? How, I'm very sure not even a full day has, I won't say a full day, because they were about to hit, nighttime when Asta was last in the Four Kingdoms. I'm almost willing to bet, they still haven't reached, their second day, or they're very early into their second day. Because of stuff like that. Okay, so the Ryugo is the fabulous mythical residence of Ryujin, the dragon god or sea god, or the princess Otohime. It is also equated with fish scale palace, which was the sea god Watatsumi's palace mentioned in the Kojiki, which is just their historical writing, or the place where they wrote those traditions at. Didn't mean to click on that. The Ryugo is well known as the supernatural palace. We just kind of read that. I'm not going to read that again. Okay, so I guess there's debate whether it was afloat or under the sea. Let's see. So it's described textually as underwater. So there's that. Okay. Ooh, passage of time is a whole other thing. So I want to see what they're saying about the four seasons and the four sides. So, notable feature of the Dragon Palace, according to the feudal Otogizoshi versions, is the view to the four seasons on four sides. So, this has been skewed in Chamberlain's translation. However, the view to the four seasons is incorporated in Mrs. Ozaki's translation: cherry blossom in bloom to the east, buzzing cicadas to the south, multicolored cicadas. Why did I say cicadas? Multicolored maple leaves to the west, and snow-covered ground to the north. I'm trying to think of the four kingdoms. So the North Kingdom is the Diamond Kingdom. Where's north? So north, they said, is winter. However, the orientation of the map, right? So Spade is actually west, but the orientation that is given to us, you would assume it's north. So let's take that orientation, see if that even fits. So then, to the east would be cherry blossoms? No, because Diamond Kingdom is now desolate. Maybe it was back in the day. Let's leave the Diamond Kingdom out of it. They've been through a lot. The south, which is summer, which would be the Clover Kingdom, in that orientation. Otherwise, that would be east. Wait, what did I just say was east? No, oh, dude, I'm tripping. Okay. So in the real orientation, east would be the Clover Kingdom. For cherry blossoms in spring. I mean, maybe not known for cherry blossoms, but they do have good weather, I guess. South would be the Heart Kingdom summer. I guess I wouldn't be mad at that. Multicolored maple leaves to the west, which is not true for Spade. So, yeah, I don't know if I'd roll with any of that. I was just curious. Passage of time, though. Whether in the ancient Nara period, the feudal period, or standard modern versions of Urashima, he believes that he has spent 3 years at the Otherworld or the Dragon Palace, but more than 300 years had elapsed in the ancient and standard modern versions. 700 years in the feudal period versions. The Mizukigami, is that the water god? What is this? Is believed it's just it's a book. Okay. Gives a more precise reckoning. Urashima supposedly returned in the second year of Tensho, 825 AD, which is 347 years later. This matches the claim in the Nihon Shoki that he disappeared in the year of Yuraku 22, conventionally assigned the year 478, but it also means he did not come back until a century after Nihon Shoki was written. So this is just talking about the discrepancies of time. They're trying to narrow down on like how much time had passed, but it sounds like regardless of how you chop this up, he got Narnia'd essentially. So interesting stuff. Hoderi and Hori. So Hoderi's the Fire Flash, Hori's the Fire Fade. Okay. So I did want to go back up to Hori though. So that could be interesting. Okay, so Ryugo no Tsukai and Jinja Hime. These are the Japanese name for the deep sea dwelling giant oarfish. See, this would be the thing. Who was just talking about this? Dr. Foss. That's how I would describe it. Is an oarfish, but it was like a demonic oarfish until it got like unmad once it got his baby back. So that okay, cool. So this is the messenger or servant of Ryugu, or messenger from the sea god's palace. The real species of fish may have been the origins of the mythical Jinja Hime, which also claimed to be a messenger servant of Ryugu. This shrine princess was a type of the so-called prophet beast during the Edo period, which prophesies bountiful harvest followed by epidemic. I think this almost accurately sums up like the that filler fish thing. Let's see if we can find any more on this. Oh, that's not what I wanted. There we go. Now, looking up stuff from Japanese mythology, and the first thing you're met with was orcaireland.org. What? Okay, first, it has nothing to do with Ireland, right? Then we have orcas. Why are we doing .org? It's official, and it looks like they do have actual like thing there. I feel stupid for opening this first and not the Japanese mythology site, but whatever. I'm just curious. But yeah, if you guys have never seen an oarfish, by the way, this is what it is. So make that into an anime, put some horns on it, and that's exactly kind of what you get in that filler episode. So that's cool. The president. Oh yeah. I feel like you guys should know about the legend of an oarfish. If you do see one in Japan, that usually means you guys are about to get hit with that earthquake pretty bad. So that's pretty much the legend of the oarfish. They've definitely made it more of an umbrella thing where it's not specifically an earthquake, and it's just disaster lies in our future, in our near future. But it's actually just mainly earthquakes that it's said to do that for. Interesting that they have this guy there and this one, because these are definitely more Makara type fish. I wonder if it's actually mentioned at all. No, it's not. That is interesting that those drawings are there. So this is just about scientists trying to debunk the fact that oarfish more or less predict earthquakes or impending earthquakes. So let's go to this. Here we go. So yeah, earthquakes and stuff, blah blah blah. This is really just a history of Warfish, damn. But we'll be back at that site in just a sec. Yeah, no. But if you guys want to book a spa at a resort, that's this is what you got to look up. So okay, I guess we're kind of done with that. Before we get back into the eye thing, I did want to go look at Ryujin. Just curious. Because just breaking down the word, Ryu means dragon, right? And then Jin usually talks about state of being, usually a person. So this is like dragon person. So Ryujin, which in some traditions is equivalent to Owatsusumi, was the tutelary deity of the sea in Japanese mythology. In many versions, Ryujin had the ability to transform into a human shape. Many believe the god had knowledge on medicine, and many considered him as the bringer of rain and thunder. Ryujin is also the patron god Ujigami of several family groups. Ujigami is a guardian god or spirit of a particular place in the. Ooh, okay. The Ujigami was prayed to for a number of reasons, including protection from sickness, success in endeavors, and good harvests, which Hino has. Those are the no potatoes and all that other stuff, right? That's interesting. I do think this does fit Ryu, for theorizing, which we are, right? Because Ryu and the Rito clan, their names having Ryu in both the surname and the first name, shows me that they're more than likely connected to the five-headed dragon. So I wonder if, like, Yami was supposed to be the demon god, and probably the perfect vessel for Lucificus, that this guy is more so the incarnation, maybe, of the five-headed dragon in human form. This Japanese dragon, symbolizing the power of the ocean, had a large mouth. He's considered a good god and patron of Japan, since the Japanese population has, for millennia, lived off the bounty of the sea. Ryujin is also credited with the challenge of a hurricane, which sank the Mongolian flotilla sent by Kublai Khan. So, literally, credited to sinking a ship, or ships, actually. Ryujin lived in the Sea Palace. His palace under the sea was built out of red and white coral, from where he controlled the tides with magical tide jewels. Sea turtles, fish, jellyfish, snakes, other sea creatures are often seen as Ryujin's servants. Okay? Now, we don't have anything to do with turtles in this series. We have a guy, the fish healer. We have the jellyfish healer. I don't think we really have snakes, though. So, that's 2 out of 4. We're hitting 50% there. Okay. How the jellyfish lost its bones. Okay, I'm curious. One legend involving Ryujin is the story about how the jellyfish lost its bones. According to the story, Ryujin wanted to eat monkey's liver? What? No, I just want predictions, guys. Where do you think that story's gonna go? Guy was sitting around, I'm in the mood for some monkey liver. The jellyfish bones gotta go. Because if jellyfish have bones, I can't have monkey liver. How is that about to... What? See... It's funny looking at stories of, like, deities and how petty they are and just how stupid some of these endeavors were, right? I didn't even... I'm just thinking that the story's going to make zero sense. We're going to somehow get from monkey liver to jellyfish having to lose their bones. I don't know. Okay. Anyway. According to the story, Ryujin wanted to eat Monkey's liver. In some versions of the story, to heal an incurable rash. Okay. In some versions, though. So in other versions, he just wants to eat a liver from a monkey. Anyway. And he sent the jellyfish to get him a monkey. The monkey managed to sneak away from the jellyfish by telling him that he had to put his liver in a jar in the forest and offered to go get it. Okay, I think we need more to this lore. Why did the monkey have to put his liver into a jar and put it in the forest? As the jellyfish came back and told Ryujin what had happened, Ryujin became so angry that he beat the jellyfish until his bones were crushed. Dude, what the fuck did I just read? None of this makes... This is why we have to ask the question, why? Why? Okay. I don't think anything else is going to have anything to do with anything. But that was a story. Not the story, but it was certainly a story. Anyway. So, right now we have Hogyoku-like things for the idea behind his eye. The Seki Seki, which I do think, if any of this is true, I do think Seki will have an important part in the series later on. His grimoire does have the shape of Thor's hammer as well. And again, I've said this so many times, people never take me seriously, but I'm going to keep saying it. Seki was the first one to introduce us to curse magic. He's really the only full-on human mage that has shown us curse magic. And that's so special. He calls it hex magic. It's the same thing as curse. His magic control really was off the charts back when we first met him. And his magic power was nothing to joke with either. His strategy, infallible. He just happened to be met with a kid that could bypass magic. So, I definitely do think Seki is going to have a more important role here. Sooner than later. But anyway, we do have more jewels to talk about. So there are Tama jewels. Now, I don't think I'm going to read this whole thing to you, if any of it, but I do think it's interesting that this jewel is part of this quest of immortality. Because part of Lucius's plan is so that the people that are being remade have undying bodies. So I wonder if Ryu himself, right now, has an undying body because of this eye or this stone that he has. Now I do want to read this little paragraph here. I'm just curious because I saw a couple things in there. So in Shinto, the ancient religion of the Japanese, prominence is given to pearls and other precious jewels, and even to ornaments like artificial beads, which were not, of course, used merely for personal decoration in the modern sense of the term. Beads had a religious significance. A sacred jewel is a tama, a name which has deep significance in Japan because mitama, or we talked about mitama, is a soul or spirit or double. Mi is usually referred to as an honorific prefix or honorific epithet, but it appears to have been originally something more than that. A Japanese commentator, as Devisser, that's a really fancy name there, Devisser notes, has pointed out in another connection that Mi is an old word for snake, that is for a snake dragon. Mitama, therefore, may, as soul or double, be all that is meant by snake pearl or dragon pearl. I mean, all of these things, I mean, it's just no coincidence, right? This is, I mean, it all kind of falls into line here. Yeah, I don't really want to read the rest of this, because they're starting to talk about, like, Aztec lore, Quetzalcoatl, that sort of stuff. We don't really need. So, this is about the wish-fulfilling jewel. So this is back on the topic of the Hoju, which is what the Hogyoku was based off of in Bleach. Now, it's funny that they include this because this is what is used in. Oh, snap. I think I forgot the word. It's like Thai something. But it's the elongated version of the yin and yang. Remember, yin and yang is not an original symbol. It is a condensed version of the Eastern Tree of Life. So this is also part of that scheme. So I like that I found that attached to Hoju, which really does back up these theories on the eye possibly having to do with this Hoju jewel. So this says, known as the Hoju, or Hoju no Tama, or Nioi Hoju. In Japan, this jewel signifies the bestowal of blessings on all who suffer, for it grants wishes, pacifies desires, and brings clear understanding of the Dharma or Buddhist law. In Japan, the Hoju is often appears as giboshi, giboshi bridge ornaments, and are said to resemble the onion domes seen in Western or Baltic cultures. However, they are most likely the form of the peach, which is the fruit symbolic of immortality and healing, known from myths and legends of the ancient chronicles of Japan. So if you don't know the story of like the peaches and the significance, I think it was Izanagi who was running away from Izanami, his sister wife, who had descended into hell and started rotting away and became really, really ugly. So ugly that he was like, yo, get away from me. And the only thing he could do as he's exiting hell is pick up these peaches and start throwing them at Izanami and all the demons that were coming with her. So it was just a weird story. Another one for the books. One of the oldest known forms of the Hoju is the jewel called Kurin, top of a simple stupa called the Gorinto or Sotoba. The Gorinto was originally a stupa structure component of a mausoleum built over a sacred area and usually containing a relic of either the Buddha or a revered teacher. Over time, exterior forms of the Sotoba of China, Tibet, and India changed, but the Sotoba always included symbolic shapes integral to the doctrine of the Godai 5 elements, the Mahabhuta. I don't think I said that right. I did. Mahabhuta. This is the doctrine of 5 elements of Indian origin, that the physical body, being composed of 5 elements, would in death return to them. Given that the Hoju jewel was used in the mausoleum context, the jewel may actually originally have been symbolic of the magical peach of immortality for those going into the afterlife, the peach that Izanagi lobbed at the hags of hell, or as magical amulet to keep the hungry ghosts at bay. Now, there's a lot of stuff to unpack here, actually. So, we talked about these 5 elements that the physical body goes back to, or anything physical. This is nothing new to us because we've been studying all of the left-hand path of magic, where we do end up talking about how there are the 4 classical elements. The 5th is aether. Now, I think the 5th for Eastern philosophies is actually wood, and they do include metal in place of one of the elements. So that's where it kind of differs, but the idea is exactly the same. So like I said in my last offline video, was talking about how Western esotericists write these books that I'm referencing. However, the mechanics of using the magic and meeting these otherworldly deities, Beelzebub and all of the archons of hell, are all driven by the mechanics of Eastern philosophies. So they both go just hand in hand. We're going to keep going here. Let's see. Nothing super important there. Okay. The Mani Hojo, or jewel, is also found on top of railing. Oh, no, it's just talking about where it's found. So we're talking about this little peach shape up here. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So monks and laypersons, for instance, began to worship Buddha relics as wish-fulfilling jewels. Rupert states that by the late Heian and early Kamakura periods, there was a conflation of wish-fulfilling jewels and Buddha relics. In Japan, wish-fulfilling jewels were Buddha relics fashioned with valuable material and with substances considered to have medical efficacy. So this really makes me think of this Charmy figure that they keep. You know, we saw it as a keychain, we saw it as like a lantern, like a stone piece out in the training area, and we saw it as the tea-serving robot thing, right? So I wonder if it's operating this in this type of way. Because remember, like I always equate it to how you see like Buddhas as like fountains, and they seem kind of gimmicky, but it's really about bringing you luck and all that stuff. So essentially fulfilling your wishes, right? So this is just interesting in general. So let's see. This says Isai Sharida, which is a comprehensive collection on relics. 4 reasons are drawn for the popularity and great significance given to the Hoju relics. So the first reason is the relic has apotropaic qualities, whereby it enables the worshipper to avert illness, pacify the world, and lengthen his or her life, which is great. That would give you an undying body for sure. 2, the relic is fecund. I've never seen this word in my life. Fecund. What is? How do you say this? Fesooned? Fecund. Say it out loud. Oh, I should. No, say it louder. Whoa. Fecund. If you guys watch Call Me Kevin, that's how he says fuck without getting demonetized. It's feck. Anyway. Fecund. Okay. The relic is fecund, you guys. It transforms into 5 grains, ensures rain, and even grants benefits during last age. So, this is now the second time I believe that the jewels talk about, or it talks about the jewels ensuring rain and good harvest, right? Remember, Asta says, "Why is it always so cloudy here?" And a lot of sun is not a good thing. You need to have that type of weather. So, this could very well connect back to the eye very easily. The relic has economic value. It fulfills the believer's desires, produces jewels, and itself becomes a wish-fulfilling jewel. Wow, nice typo. A wish-fulfilling jeweler 5. So now, I like this part where it says it produces jewels. So we have a whole, 10 jewels, magic stones. So that could be the mother of them, right? In this case. I don't know if that'll actually end up being what it is, but just very interesting that, that they include that. Then 4, the relic is pure, oh my goodness, they're using all these words. I know what this is. Can I say it? Probably not. Purificatory. So, able to purify things. So the relic, its worship can expiate the believer's transgressions. Cool. Often depicted as a single orb with a pointed top, or as a set of 3 jewels, sometimes with a flame nimbus. This grouping of 3 probably represents the 3 jewels Sanbo of Buddhism, which are Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, the community of Buddhist believers. The jewel appears in a wide range of artistic forms. That's super great. I don't care, but actually I do. Artistic forms as an object held by Buddhist deities, or atop the weapons they carry, and as the sacred symbol of the mandala paintings. So I like that they included it on the weapons, because that's where I put it. Right. So I'm glad they put it together, because I meant to say, and I scroll-brained, they mention Izanagi throwing the peaches at the hungry ghosts and the hungry hags. That's a realm of existence in Samsara, or the 6 paths of pain, if you will, that we went over on that offline video. So wish-fulfilling jewels came to be associated with Bodhisattva. I can never say this. Bodhisattva. Those are just enlightened people that chose not to go all the way towards enlightenment, but they came back to teach the way of enlightenment to other people. Especially the Nyorin canon, an esoteric form of canon, where the jewel represents Nyorin's vow to save those in the realm of hungry ghosts. The association increased the popularity of Buddha relics due to the perceived potency. Other deities also came to be depicted as holding the what are these words? Sintamani, which is another jewel, I guess, including the 1,000 armed cannon, the Jizo Bosatsu, the Kokuzu Bosatsu, and Aizen Mio. Obviously, we know Aizen, right, from Bleach. Clearly. Good. The Hungry Ghost in Bleach, very blatantly stated in there. Beautiful. Sacred jewels' power to grant wishes also symbolized wealth in Buddhist philosophy. Buddhist deities with wealth-bringing associations, Kiji Joten, or the goddess of fortune, luck, beauty, and merit, Daikokuten, one of Japan's 7 lucky gods, is often depicted with a wish-granting jewel inside his magic mallet or inside his belt. You think we could... Let's see. Let's take a look at the Reasons 7. See if there's anything that maybe resembles a jewel on them. I don't think I remember anything like that. That's something I definitely pick up on, I think, if I saw it. So, let's see here. I mean, he's got this whole beads. Beads do have significance. What else? Let's look at our girl over here. She's the one with the keychain, though. Remember what they said about that sort of stuff. Could definitely be like her version of a jewel. This guy doesn't have anything that would be a jewel, though. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything crazy on them. Yeah, this is the keychain. So maybe, I mean, a charm is something that brings you luck and essentially grants your wishes. So I'm just saying that because her name is obviously Charmy, right? But nothing on this guy that we see, at least. So I don't know how far I'd jump to this conclusion. I know a lot of people have made mention that they think the Reason 7 are the 7 lucky gods. Could be. I kind of don't see it because I've read into the 7 lucky gods. It doesn't seem to fit what we have going on in Hino. But it does, of course, make sense with, like, Benzaiten, right? Because she's the one who heads all of them. So, it's just interesting. We just need more lore. But yeah, there's that stone piece I was talking about. With the Charmy figure. They could just be finding these ways to manifest the reality for the country of Hino. That's what I would go with, at least. Is that the Tama? There we go. Okay, let's see if there's anything else important here. Okay, great. Relics, the Ashes Fingernail, blah blah blah, internalization of Buddhist teachings. Yep. Got that. Okay, we got that as well. Okay, let's read this one really quick. Okay, so most characteristically, from the Heian period on, he sits at Nyorin, is what they're saying. He sits atop. Oh, I just lost my place. On top of a rock, symbolic of Canaan's paradise, that rises from the sea, wearing a crown with a small image of Amida set in it. In his left hand, he holds a full-blown lotus and a wheel, while another hand rests on the days. Okay. One of his right hands holds the jewel, another a rosary. The jewel represents wealth, wisdom, and aspiration to enlightenment. The Buddha nature, the transmission, as well as material fulfillment. Great. It wasn't as important as I was thinking. I've never heard of this stone. Carried on the back of a horse. Okay, that's cool. Okay, I think we got what we needed out of that. I do want to look up this jewel with you guys. So I'm just curious. Okay. So it's just another wish fulfilling jewel. Nothing crazy on it. Yeah. Oh, no, that turned out to be nothing at all. Okay. So there's another site where it talks about the jewel. It doesn't really deviate from what we just read, so I won't even go into any of it. But yeah, they talk about Jizo for some reason in this. He pretty much saves dead babies, like their souls and all that stuff. And then they just talk about the different decorations of the Hoju. Where you can find it and all that stuff. Nothing crazy important there. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm thinking, where the eye is. It's some type of special jewel that is granting all of these wishes or forming reality for the people of Hino. And of course, again, Lucius would have a ball with that. He would need something like that. The scale of his plan is massive, and I don't know if there's exactly an amount of mana that's even available for him to be able to pull off something like that without a force like that to add to this power. So that's what I'm thinking, of course. And like I said, this is probably the last time I'm going to talk about this eye. We said everything we possibly could have. So now we just got to wait and see what Tabata decides to do. What else? Let me see if I posted anything that I need to talk about. If there's anything you guys would particularly like to talk about, please feel free to put it in the chat. We'll talk about it. Still want to know why there's no leaf on this Clover. Tabata does this stuff too. Like, maybe it's just a mistake, man. I don't know. But, then again, I'm thinking, like, who actually looks at their grimoire? Like, after they get it? Who just picks it up and goes like, yeah, well, let's just look at the design really quick. I mean, I probably would, honestly, because, like, grimoire designs are cool. But, like, Asta really doesn't have an incentive to. And then, they never actually see it in battle. It's always faced away from them, obviously, so they can read what's inside. So, it makes sense why Asta would not notice that it's gone. But then there was that thing with Mimosa that happened, which still isn't cleared up. Actually, do they show her grimoire yet? Because remember, the last time we saw her grimoire in the Spade art, it looked like a 4-leaf clover. And then Tabata refused to show the grimoire the entire time. Like he's doing right now with Asta's grimoire. Okay. Go back. Where is TCB? Right there. Let me go back. I want to see if we do end up seeing that grimoire from Mimosa. Because I want to know if that was legitimately a mistake. Because I want to say it was like probably like my 6th Black Clover video on this channel. I was talking about if there is a progression that's able to happen from 4 to 5, there can easily be a progression from 3 to 4 leaves on a Clover or on a grimoire. But just because we've never seen it, we can't say that that can actually be true. Was it the final enemy? The Wizard King's the enemy, blah, blah. Okay, no. It's the other chapter here. So, yeah, he's about to get blasted into the Nether Realms. She's not even in her Valkyrie form. You'd think she'd be all out right now. But she's not. Okay, great. Talks about the Beelzebub stuff. Cool. Come on, Melissa. Where are you at? Okay, now she's in her form. We just see Lily's grimoire spark up. There's no good detail there. Probably isn't either in the officials. It's kind of far away. And we've got a big fat wad of nothing. Yeah. So we still haven't seen the other side of her grimoire. So just saying, Tabata does this. He does this a lot. And it's bugging me. So I need to know if she's got a 4-leaf, and I need to know if Asta truly has a no-leaf. Because if either is the case, something's happening that we need to be talking about. But we can't, because he won't show the goddamn things that we need to see. So, shame on you, Tabata. Let's go back real quick. Also, I'm thinking this next chapter, Lucius is going to be making his move on Hino, right? Lost my place entirely. Yeah, I think simultaneously, while the Paladins are doing whatever they're doing, and Hino, I think he'll be fighting Hino. Kind of sucks. I was hoping that Hino would be the one initiating the battle, and that Lucius wouldn't be just dropping in on him. Of course, I'm just assuming. Like, who's to say Hino didn't, like, pop in on him, you know, and he's rolling deep with, like, the Black Bulls right now. And Lucius, you know, being the cocky kind of guy he is, sends Lily to go do an errand for him while he takes care of the threat himself. You know, I do see something like that happen. But I do think, you know, taking the offensive to Lucius would be important to his character. Especially knowing that this guy took Asta from him. So, I think it would just look cooler on that part. Damn, dude. These threads are too long. Okay, dude. God damn. Shut up already, right? Oh yeah, I picked Boruto back up. Not extremely stoked on it, but just curious on like what's going on. Oh my gosh, do I even make posts about Black Clover anymore? Or no? Probably not. Literally no one cares about Boruto, you guys. Okay. This is more stuff on the eye, that's fine. Devil Host Fists. That's cool. How do you know? Dude, I don't make any Black Clover posts. But this Kaiju number 8 chapter was dope as hell. Anyway, okay. What is this about? Okay, I think we talked about this in the last stream. But I'll also go back around to the theory that Sunjin gave us. I do like that observation. Like, you know, he went down and absorbed Lucifero's core. Like, he ate it. And then was able to incarnate Beelzebub. And obviously Xenon had a contract with him. We just need to wait on Megicula and see what that looks like. He probably can't do it, though. That's what you were talking about. If that's the rule here. But then we'd have to talk about the Triad, right? Because I'm thinking the Triad comes from, like, the water of Hino. Or the underworld, or something like that. If not Hino itself. But I'm still kind of trying to piece together, like, you know, the Triad obviously had no parents, right? They never talk about them. And I do think it's because they're not natural-born beings. You know, they either came from Lucius, all three, or they came from Lucius, Lily, and Donatia. Those are my only two options for that. Or they were just random souls from the underworld that were able to be brought back to life by Lucius before he made his contract with Astra. It's kind of what I'm thinking. But we're talking about cereal. Yeah, so this was stuff we talked about in the last stream. So I've got really nothing much else to talk about. And I haven't seen anything else in the chat. But I think I've got a couple videos I'm working on. So I would be on the lookout for that stuff. Should be pretty cool. For a while, I was thinking that we might visit one more place, or one more place might be mentioned. That's like Hino. Right now, I'm kind of thinking it won't be specifically mentioned, but the power system will go back to this place. And the lore, of course, will go back to this place. As it would be the cradle of all mythology, lore, religion, and all that good stuff. But that's for the video. So I will leave you guys with that. I don't see anything in the chat, so I will take this as you guys saying, Jack, shut the hell up and go away. And that's what I'm going to do. So thank you guys for tuning in. It's been Jack Goes to Go. You either know or you don't.